Coming up on UGTV. A special session of the Unified Government of Wyandotte County, Kansas City, Kansas.
Through the course of all this action that a lot of attention was given to other boards and commissions. Some were ones that just the mayor gives appointments to. There are other boards and commissions that have been assigned to the administrator over the years or have appointments, and allowed us to create a whole new tracking system to this. But as you've gone through it, Emmerich Cross and Diana Jimenez in the commission office were assigned to work with the commissioners and go through it. And they put together a report tonight for those that we're going to look at. So I'll turn this over to Emmerich and Diana and let you guys go from here.
Okay, Doug, thank you. Good evening, Commissioners, Mayor Pro Tem. Welcome, boards and commissions. So the Boards and Commissions Committee was created about, 13, 14 months ago. And on that committee sits Commissioner Walters, Commissioner Markley, and Commissioner Philbrook. And just a quick reminder, the purpose is to provide advice and direction to the commission, and to help better understand and budget for issues and activities that are being addressed. The purpose of the boards and commissions is to advise the commission. So that's the impetus for this. Commissioner asked about the brief history of boards and commissions. The city and county both had boards and commissions before consolidations. Some of the boards on both sides go way back, and by that I mean decades. They've been around for a very long time. And the city had more boards because obviously it was higher density, and therefore it had more urban issues than the rural county side. Tonight's focus, like Doug spoke about a few minutes ago, is currently we have 16 commission-driven boards and commissions. So that will be our focus tonight. And through these committee meetings that we had, we have developed a plan for staff support, communication, and reporting mechanisms. Staff key contacts are now assigned by the administrator or his designee. That means that every director or department head now is responsible for either taking that responsibility or assigning a staff as the key contact. And that was kind of one of the key things that was missing from the boards and commissions, is who's in charge, who's doing what, and it's really helped us out. It's also helped out the departments to get a better grasp on where we need to be and where we need to go. Okay. On our side, the commission liaison, which is me, and staff, which is Diana. Now we'll notify commissioners 30 days in advance of board and commission appointments, of vacancies that are coming up. And I'd like to elaborate a little bit more on that here in a few slides. But now we're going to be given a lot of time to get somebody to fill a vacant board or commission position, and we will work with you. But like I said, I'll talk a little bit more in depth about that here in a minute. This committee created an 8-question questionnaire for all the key contacts and the boards and commissions, and we asked each department head and or their key contact to come into the meeting and sit down with us and go over this questionnaire. You have that questionnaire from all 16 boards and commissions in front of you. They were all asked the same question, and it was a great opportunity to get a lot of feedback from both sides. The commission had a lot of questions, obviously these 8 plus some ancillary questions, and the key contacts and the directors of these board and commissions, they learned a lot of information as well, and they had some questions of us as well. So it was a very good information exchange, and everybody benefited from it. The term I'd like to use tonight and keep going back to is, now there's greater, improved, enhanced communication between all these boards and commissions and the commissioners. There's information being exchanged and direction being exchanged as well. So, some of the findings and the actions of the committee. We found that some of the boards and commissions, to be quite frank, were inactive. They weren't meeting regularly. They were not submitting agendas and minutes I'd like to take the opportunity in all fairness to say that the reason they weren't submitting agendas and minutes is because nobody really ever solicited them for those agendas and minutes. But that's what these meetings have changed. They've enhanced that communication. Now they know what they're supposed to do, and they send those agendas and minutes in, and they report to Diana, and she's been dispersing that information to you as it comes in. We also found they had vacancies on their board. That probably is not a big surprise to the commission, but we found that we do have a lot of vacancies. They now know also that they need to be working the vacancies on their end as well. So they need to be submitting to us nominations or I'm not nominations, but people who are potential candidates to fill those vacancies. Once a board sends in their agenda and minutes, a copy will be added to the full commission packet now as part of the regular process. And this will allow the commission to acknowledge and receive the boards and commissions minutes as part of the normal commission process. Agendas and minutes will be posted on our UG website as part of our normal commission process as well. So that way both the commission and the citizenry now have an opportunity to click on the website and see what's going on with each board and commission. Some of the outcomes from our committee meetings. One of the key things that we found with a lot of the staff key contacts is that they didn't know exactly what to do. They didn't know what their duties and responsibilities were. So we created a one-page list of duties and responsibilities for both the commission liaison and the staff key contact. So now they can go into the policy, which is about 22 to 25 pages long, and go to one page and know exactly through a checklist of what they're supposed to be doing. This way, they know exactly what their responsibilities are, and they know if they have questions, they can contact me, and we can answer them as they come in. So this has really helped out a lot on both ends. Like I said, we put the commission liaison duties and responsibilities on a one-page sheet as well. So it makes it very helpful, a lot easier. We're working with the UG clerk to install and use a board sync tracking system. We should have this up and running in 2017. Right now, Diana Jimenez has created an Excel tracking system. It's a little archaic, but it's working. She's done an excellent job putting this together. There's a lot of information out there. But the new board sync system will track all of this electronically. So as we plug this information in, when you, let's say for example, when you have appointments that are about to expire, it'll pop up there as a flag and let her know, hey, we got an upcoming vacancy here. We need to start working with the commissioner, the staff key contact, and the liaison to make sure that position's filled when it comes up. So that way we don't have all these holes in these boards and commissions. Okay. We're also working with the public relations staff to create a boards and commissions webpage. It'll include an application form online for the public to apply, and it'll also for certain boards and commissions. Now the reason I use the word certain there is there are some boards and commissions that require either a technical certificate and expertise or a degree in that certain field of expertise. That's why we have that up there. But hopefully this web page is going to give us a reserve list where we can go to it, and that way we have people who are looking to be on a certain board of commissions, and we can readily fill them as they become open. Please. Okay, some of the recommendations. We have 4 recommendations that came out of the committee meetings over the last year. Removal of a board member. Removal of a board member now will be at the pleasure of the UG Commission unless it's restricted by law. This will be the exact kind of reverse of a commissioner nominating somebody to a board or commission. At the pleasure of the commissioner, if that commissioner feels they would like to remove a board member, they will nominate that the removal take place, and it will go to full commission, and full commission will vote one way or the other. Now, this is standard language throughout the nation for a lot of cities and communities. They have this as part of their board and commission process. So we are recommending that we add that to ours. The second recommendation is to combine the Advisory Committee on Disability Issues with the Human Relations Commission. These 2 boards have similar functions, and they serve a group of similar citizens. I was talking with Commissioner Walker about this, and he felt very strongly about this. He didn't want to give either board up, and he thought that this would strengthen our relationship with community groups And especially that's a good thing now in these trying times when it's very important for municipalities to build these relationships and maintain them. So that is the second recommendation by the board. The third recommendation is to combine the Board of Building and Fire Code Appeals with the Rental License Appeals Board. We're going to make this board, we recommend to make it ad hoc and to only have 3 members. As you all know, when we get an appeal now from NRC, to get 11 folks, especially 11 board members with those skill sets, certifications in some cases, or expertise in those appeal areas is very difficult. What we're recommending now is we whittle it down to 3, and that will be a mayoral appointment, an at-large 1 appointment, and an at-large 2 appointment. And for us to get those skill sets in certain appeals, it'll make it a lot easier. Okay, the final recommendation is to eliminate paying the UG Park Board. Currently, there are 11 members that get paid $100 a month, and that's about $13,200. The reason for this recommendation is this board serves very similar functions and duties of other advisory boards right now. These 2 boards on both the city and county side, and talking to the Ken Moore and Hal Walker, have been around for a long time, and I'm assuming that it was probably protocol back in the day to pay those members $100 at that time. So those are the recommendations set forth by the Boards and Commissions Committee, and I'd stand for any questions at this time.
Anyone have questions?
I just wanted to make a point of clarification. So the recommendations that they're set out from your subcommittee and Mr. Cross tonight are ones that if we get the go-ahead from you, then we'll go forward to put these into the necessary ordinance or resolutions, and then those would come back before the governing body for a formal vote at a meeting to incorporate those into that.
Commissioner Kane?
I don't like the idea of eliminating paying the park board. And I do like the idea with the 3 members, you know, to whittle that down and still it happened to be a qualified person, because when you get that many other people in the group, you get that many personalities, it's very difficult to come up with a mood. Look at us. We're a perfect example.
Are you saying we don't work well together?
No, but since I'm sensitive a lot, you know, it makes it a little
I'm
different.
sorry. I apologize. Okay, so as an answer to your comment, not that you wanted one, I talked to the person that I have on the park board, and she said she would still serve even though she didn't get the money. It was something she wanted to do, and she felt very heavily about it, and that she didn't understand why they were getting paid anyway. But she's been involved in this for so long that, you know, it's hard saying. But I would tell you that I don't understand anymore why they should get paid over some of the other boards and commissions, you know, that we have, because I wouldn't say that overall that they work any harder than some of the other commissions. It just depends on which one. So that's the reasoning.
Anybody else question or comment? I have did you have a?
Yeah, I just wanted to know, on that same lines, are there any other commissions or boards that are getting paid a stipend? Because this was news to me. There are?
Yeah, planning and zoning is the only other board that gets paid, and they do a different level of work than our other boards and commissions. It's certainly a larger time commitment.
My question is, your recommendation is that you're gonna combine 4 committees into 2, really. You're gonna combine.
Correct.
Advisory on Disabilities with Human Relations, excuse me. And then you're gonna combine Fire Code Appeals with rental license, pardon me.
Rental licensing.
Yes.
And I can see the first one. I need help understanding the second one.
Well, we've worked closely with Greg Talkin over NRC, who sees and who is over all of these appeals board. And I also like to add, this will also include rental licensing appeals, and demolition appeals as well. So any appeals that they have at an NRC would cover all of those. Like I said earlier, I think these happen infrequently. Sometimes up to 2 years, they will have no appeal come in. And in that time, for some, to have 11 people kind of hanging out, waiting to hear an appeal is very difficult, or even have them remain on the board, to be quite frank.
Well, and I think that the idea was that the types of expertise that would be beneficial for the board members for the Building and Fire Code Appeals Board would be similar types of expertise to what would be beneficial for the rental licensing in terms of sort of structural knowledge and understanding how a building's put together and those sorts of things. Because a lot of times what would come up before the rental licensing appeals might have to do with whether the house is, what pieces of the house are not in the way they're supposed to be, so.
But that combination of fire code and rental licensing and then adding also demolition appeals, is that the set of boards that require as a reason for being appointed some,
Level of expertise or skill set.
is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Those are the three?
And didn't we, Emmerich, correct me if I'm wrong, but we initially thought, because each commissioner had like an assigned area to cover, like one person was supposed to appoint an architect, one person, and as we were researching, my understanding is we discovered we were really the ones who set those particular limitations on ourselves. So it isn't that the law said somebody has to appoint an architect, and we had just, I think a past commission had just wanted to make sure there was a well-rounded group, and so I'd put these limitations in place, but in fact it made it, in some cases, pretty much impossible for somebody to find an appointment because they couldn't find this specific type of person to go on the board. So that's another reason for this idea of combining them and having sort of an expert board of just a few people, is it eliminates that craziness of, for instance, my appointment was supposed to be a journeyman carpenter, which sounds easy enough, but what journeyman carpenter do you know who can leave his office in the middle of the day, or his office, and leave his building he's working on in the middle of the day, and come to a meeting when there's an appeal? Nobody wanted to do that, and it's not typically appropriate in that working environment. And so I literally came back at one point and told Janet at the time, I said, I can't find anybody. I've done everything I can. I can't find anybody. So as we were talking through this and researching, we thought it'd be better to have a few experts, people we know we can get, instead of trying to fill these individual slots that may or may not be logically filled.
That makes sense. And, for example, on the Demolition Appeals Board, I know I just recently made an appointment to that board, and I think a lot of other people did too, so we'll contract that back down maybe and relieve some of those people that we may have just recently appointed, and thank them and dismiss them.
Yes, ma'am. All those communications will be made.
Okay.
But we would like to keep them in this reserve list.
Right, well,
And that's the
true.
whole purpose of
Yeah.
that, is just for these types of issues,
And I
situations.
really like the board sync idea, the whole electronic piece of what you've suggested. That is great.
I think Deanna Jimenez really likes that idea too.
Good.
She might be able to breathe.
That's right.
That's great. Are there other, yes,
Just to enlighten the public, since we did mention that planning and zoning does get a stipend, can you address that? How much they get?
Rob, 100? It's $100 a month, ma'am.
Thank you.
And then they get mileage, right? No? Okay.
Tell us the real thing.
The Planning and Zoning Commission receives a $100 a month stipend for each individual, and we ask them to go and view all of the sites that are on the agenda the weekend before the meeting, so that they're prepared to make an analysis of each case.
So there is no additional mileage. They get the $100 assumes all their costs.
Correct.
thank you. Commissioner Johnson?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. The human relations / disability combination, when will that get started? And will we change the name of that committee to something different than it is now, or will it be called the Human Relations, continue to be called the Human Relations Committee?
I think that's open for discussion, Commissioner. As to far as when it starts, we'll have to go through a legal process and change the ordinances if the recommendations are approved, or I guess what's the operative word I'm looking for?
Consensus.
Yeah, if we're given consensus
reached.
to move forward on this, then it'll go through the legal process, and then we can initiate that at any date that the commission desires.
Yeah, I would agree with the comments that have been had, I think, with Commissioner Walker on it. I'd like to see that get it initiated as soon as possible. The other question that I had is, I see on the terms, most of them are term to term, with the exception of maybe 3 or 4. On those terms where they have either 2, 3, or 4 year term, does that coincide with the term of the commissioner in those cases, or is that a year-to-year term?
I was just gonna say, if you'll notice, those ones that are term to term on your sheet often correspond with the ones that are state statute driven.
Yeah.
And so they don't necessarily correspond to the commissioner's term in any way, and we don't necessarily have the power to change that, which is why they weren't switched over to term with the rest of them. We're kind of stuck with what the state gave us.
So those are year-to-year, okay, calendar year-to-year.
Well, it just I'm sorry, it just depends on the board or commission.
Yeah.
This is a very, there's not a lot of boards and commissions that are exactly like each other. That's why you didn't see a lot of boards being combined, which is one of the original goals, I believe, of the committee, because they're so different. And then these boards and commissions, like you said, some have 2-year terms, 3-year terms, 4-year terms. They don't go term to term. So it's a tracking nightmare, to be quite frankly with you. But that board sync will really help that out. But they're set up by maybe state statute or federal law or some other directive to where we don't have control over. We would like to set everything up term to term, but we just can't.
Just
Okay.
one more comment on that, kind of along that same line. So being that the Wyandotte Leavenworth Area-Wide Advisory Council on Aging appears to be driven by a state statute.
Correct.
Yet the state also, a year or so ago, changed that department to the Kansas Department of Aging and Disability Services. So they took disabilities and aging and combined them together. But they must not have changed their state statute around the advisory council. Yes, ma'am.
Just because just because the state changed it doesn't mean we followed right along. We're still doing what we're supposed to, as I understand, with this group with disabilities involved in it. We just didn't change the name of it.
Are you saying that the area-wide advisory council on aging handles disability matters?
They are doing some, as I understand. At least that's what I heard them say not too long ago at a homeless meeting. So maybe they are, maybe they aren't. So maybe we need to find out, because
we can
that's what I
certainly-
was told.
Yeah, we can certainly get those answers for you, Commissioner, and we will. One thing I'd like to point out, and I think that was one of the tracking issues previously, is that we're kind of here, the commission liaison is kind of here to track these boards and commissions. We're not really experts in the subject material, although we've learned a lot in the last 12 months. But we're more of a tracking mechanism. But any questions that you have, we've opened up those doors of communication, so we can certainly get those answered as soon as possible.
So that would really be my only additional question, other than what you've presented and the way that you've made suggestions on combining. I'm not necessarily advocating for a further combining, but it would be interesting to know, we're combining 2, Advisory Committee on Disabilities and Human Relations, and then if we also have another that's also handling similar issues, that would be interesting to know. And other than that, I don't have any further questions, I don't think, or comments.
If I may, Mayor Pro Tem, I'd like to make one more comment that this is a dynamic process, and it's not over. We've got a lot more work to do. We kind of wanted to meet after a year and let you know where we're at and some of the recommendations that are being made. but we still have a lot of work to go, obviously, with the web page. And I'd also like to point out that we are going to engage these staff key contacts and set up, quote unquote, a miniature training opportunity for them so they can come over and sit in a room with us and we can go over exactly what the expectations, duties, and responsibilities and what the commission is looking for with all of these key contacts and boards and commissions. So you'll probably be updated again in the future.
Yes.
So I guess that means that within a few months, we're going to be getting inundated by all kinds of information from each one of these commissions that are meeting, right?
Absolutely, and in 2017, you should start seeing it on a web page. So
Okay.
if you want to know what's going on, you go right to that web page, click under that tab for that particular board or commission. That should have all the agendas and minutes and also future commission or future board and commission meeting dates.
Okay.
That's one of the requirements and the duties and responsibilities as well.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank everyone who worked on this, because I know this was a Herculean task to wrangle all of this information into one place, so thank you very much. Yes, we do owe you a little
She
round
didn't
of applause.
talk, but.
Diana's done a great job of tracking this. She has very, very good organizational skills, and I really appreciate her help.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you. Okay, Mr. Bach.
So from this point, we will put this together as far as the ordinance and resolutions. I mean, that'll be adoption. Then, as Commissioner Johnson asked, will come sometime after that based on publication and how that calls it out as to what would be the sequential right time for the detail of each of these. All right, our next presentation is from Planning and Zoning, and this is really part of our continuing effort to move toward open data and just have more information available to the public and working with our community. So I'm going to turn this over to Rob, and he's going to present a new system we're going to be introducing called, didn't stall long enough for you there, Rob, to get all set
Encode.
up? Encode. No, I had it. I was trying to give you the time to click on it.
Thank you, Mr. Bach, Mayor Pro Tem and Commissioners. This is a tool that helps folks use our planning and zoning data, whether it's the map or the ordinance, to investigate where they might want to open a business or build a project. At the end of the day, it will have real estate information on it, so you'll see for sale, for lease, and our land bank properties. So if you want to start a bakery, it will show you the commercial districts available where a bakery could open, and then you would see which properties are available within those zoning districts for sale or for lease or for acquisition from us from the land bank. This website should go live approximately October 24th, and we would have links on the UG homepage, the planning homepage, and I believe we're also looking for YEDC and economic development internally to have this link so that folks have an opportunity to get here and use the site. The zoning text that's on here is directly from MuniCode, which is if you search our code through the website, that's the MuniCode website. There's a big advantage to that in this system in that we can do background editing. So for instance, one of the things in next year's budget is rewriting the zoning code. We can do that in the background on MuniCode, and then when it's adopted, go live, and this will update the site automatically, which is a great feature. But I want to go through the different features of the website quickly this evening, and then show you a couple of the cool features of what we have available and what we will when it goes live. So if you click the home button, you just come back to this page. So there's several buttons across the top, and these are the features that the software offers. Under View, this basically, and this list will expand, but Chapter 27 is the Planning and Zoning Development Codes. So that goes directly to the MuniCode for that. And then we have three other code sections listed that are fairly popular: Commercial Design Guidelines, Narrow Lot Design Guidelines, and the Piper Area Annex Zoning Code. So that's the old county zoning code that still applies to many of the properties in the Piper area. And I think you all are familiar with what those codes look like, so I'm going to move on. The search is somewhat self-explanatory, but if we come in here and what zoning district do you want to look at?
Downtown.
Okay, CD.
So Rob, how do you know if that's what you wanna look at, that you would need to enter CD?
Well, I knew that one. That's the zoning district is the CD district for downtown. But when you go from the map side, you will see that on the other side.
So you
But-
pull it off the map?
Right.
Is that it?
And it only picked up, maybe it should be C-D. There you go. So you get the central business district and the various sections of the central business district zoning that you could scroll through under the search. The archive button, so next year when we update the zoning code and we have the new version of the code out there, under the archives will be the current version of the code so that we can look back and see how they relate to each other and see what code applied to the properties that were developed under this code. And so every time there would be a code update, and for instance, last year we probably did 6 or 8 or 10 different code updates to the zoning code in some small form or another. All of those would be listed in the archive here. And so this will be an additive process as we move to the future from the date the site goes live.
Quick question.
Yes?
So it'll show you when the new code comes on, and so is there a way to reference back to see what happened, like 5 years or so? You know, like why certain people had to comply with certain codes or whatever at that area?
It will
or-
just be the code text, but it will also reference the ordinance number, so then you could go back and find the staff report that went along with that.
was replaced.
Right, and
Okay.
so it would take a little more digging than
Yeah,
just
that's
show
fine.
up, but it,
But it's still referenced, so you can. okay.
correct.
Thank you.
So when we get to land use, we start to get to some of the exciting features here. So the land use lookup tool allows you to select a land use category. So accessory uses, agricultural uses, commercial, industrial, public, recreational, residential. But if you're going to go through and you wanted to select a commercial use, and then within the commercial uses, it has a list. These are all of the allowed uses within our zoning code. So if you want to come down and you want to say dry cleaning shops. So dry cleaning shops are permitted in all of the commercial and industrial districts, but not in any of the agricultural or residential districts or the office district. So if you want to view these on a map, you click view on the map. Oh, we have a disclaimer here because we have public record issues that we need to acknowledge. We're not going to be selling or distributing any of this data, so we can do that. So this shows, this is a citywide map here. I'm going to minimize the land use lookup results. And if we want to zoom in here, oh, I got to click the right button. We have some tool buttons over here. So zoom in is the plus sign. And I can also drag and then so at this level, something else popped up. All of these dark shaded lots, does anybody have any guesses to what those might be?
Land bank?
Those are land bank lots. So this shows you all of the areas where we could open a dry cleaning shop. And in fact, within the central business district, there are land bank lots that we could acquire to build our dry cleaning shop. So this is also, if we went back to the home page, this homepage gets you to the map, this same map. So there's two ways to get there. You can go through land use lookup or through the map button. And since we're already here in the map button, I'm not going to go backwards, but it does allow you to select what base map you want. Imagery with labels. It has topography, National Geographic. I haven't clicked on that one yet, but terrain, the U.S. topo maps and USGS national maps. So there's a lot of different options we have here that we don't have under UG maps or dot maps. So if you click on the imagery, then you get the satellite. On the legend, if you uncheck the land bank, then all the land bank parcels disappear. But it shows our parcel map. And if you unclick the zoning button, then the zoning disappears. But we were looking for a particular zoning district, so we want to leave that zoning map checked. So if you're ever, and I had this happen today as I was going through and preparing for the presentation, I kind of tried to come in a back door, and I found that the zoning wasn't showing up anymore, and I had unclicked the zoning on the legend, and so when I went back and clicked that, the zoning came back up again. So, and then if you click on the arrow, the legends will disappear. Land use lookup results, this has the information that we've previously searched for. So we searched for a commercial use with dry cleaning shops and got all those different districts. We could clear that if we wanted to, but I don't want to do that at the moment. We could turn on individual zoning districts. We occasionally have people request, I want to see all of the commercial zoning parcels in the city for real estate purposes. And so they can now go to this map, which is updated quarterly, and see all the commercial zoning and do a higher level of analysis with that than what they could ever do with the paper map that I handed them. And then we can also search, if you had a specific parcel, you can search by parcel or address with the box over here. I want to go down the buttons on the side here for just a moment. So you have zoom in, zoom out. If you hit the home button, it goes back to the regular Encode home page. We can print, we can measure. So if you want to see how far it is on Minnesota Avenue from 5th Street to 7th Street, about almost 1,500 feet. And then you can keep measuring, you know, as you go along down see how far you want to go. And to get out of that. If you have something on here you wanted to share, you can share it by Facebook or by Twitter. This is Google Street View, so if you were in and you wanted to look at the building as it currently exists, you could zoom in and look on Street View. We have a buffering tool. So for instance, for zoning issues, if you want to see who you're going to have to notify for what you wanted to do, what parcels, you do your 200-foot buffer and select a parcel to create the buffer. And I'm going to select I'll select City Hall, which I believe is right here. And so I must have selected the parking lot tract right there, but it gives you the parcels for within 200 feet of that would have to be buffered, so you could do some individual research on those as well. Look over the buffer. This says Land Bank tool, but we're going to rename this because it's a tool that they have, and they call it Land Bank for other purposes than what it's a different name for ours. But if you click on this, it takes you to the File Explorer from Windows, and you could upload a spreadsheet of addresses or parcel numbers, and then it would find those on the map for you. We have a help button and a tour that you could take the tour to explain how Encode works, and then this button would take you to Encode's page. If you had an issue with Encode itself, that gets you to their website. So I'm going to go back to the home page for us. That just went to our home extent. All right, I'm going to go back this way then. Okay, so this is the map button. There's two ways to get to maps, as I said, land use lookup or the mapping tool. We also have several tables, and this list will expand. The first table that shows up is the development process. So it tells you whether or not you need a pre-application meeting for the zoning action, whether you have to have a neighborhood meeting, and who takes the action. So if you're looking at zoning Staff makes a recommendation, Planning Commission makes a recommendation, Board of Commissioners makes the final decision. For notices, we publish, we mail, and we have a sign. We also have sign the sign code table is here for the basic table. This is the old table, and this will get updated before we move forward. This is still not live to any of the public, but they'll have the basic sign code table available and other tables within the zoning code. Several of these are from the T&D ordinance for the traditional neighborhood design zoning district, and I might have him put all those onto one page because it's a little bit confusing the way it's written, the way it is in here now. But so we'll have several tables from the zoning code for quick reference, for landscaping, parking, and other things like that. Under links, this is another link to the zoning code. So this is basically chapter 27, but you can go right to the particular division that you want. If you wanted to look up district regulations for a commercial district, you could come in through the links and get into the zoning code quickly that way. Under the library, we have the master plan documents, and we'll add to this over time as well. But if you want to go to the citywide master plan and see the land use plan, that's a very fast way to get here that you can't really do it that fast on our website right now. I mean, so and then you have the land use map here. That's something we have folks commonly request, and this is a much faster way for them to get to it and than we've had before. So we also have community plans or outdated plans, you know, the table of contents, so you can quickly navigate within the document. One of the last buttons is the calculator. So the calculators are for doing a new development project, or if you're doing a remodel, what you might have to do in terms of landscape, buffering between land uses, parking, and we'll eventually have a sign calculator. I wanted to do a parking calculation with you all. That shows, so what district are we going to be on? Well, let's select, we're going to do an office district, select a land use, offices for administrative functions, and how many square feet are in the building. Let's say it's a 20,000 square foot building. And then we're going to have another use on that parcel, and it's going to be a C2 use. And one of the more difficult parking calculators is for food and beverage or for restaurants. And this, then it automatically asks you for square feet in the seating area. So for instance, if it was going to be something like an Applebee's or a Chili's, you might have 3,500 square feet. I hit zero too many times. 3,500 square feet of seating area and 1,500 square feet of non-seating area. And when you hit calculate, it tells you for the office, you need a total of 80 spaces, 76 are not ADA, 3 of them are for automotive, for a car for ADA, 1 for van, and then it does your cumulative total. So since that's the first land use, the totals are the same, but if you come down here for this restaurant, you need 75 total, and that breaks up by ADA and non-ADA, but the total you need now is 155 because it added the 80 and the 75. So if you have different uses within that, my staff and I will use this a lot because it makes it very easy for us to go through the calculations. You can look at the whole site plan all at once, and it will allow the outside architects and engineers that are doing site plans to use the tools available to them for that, to check what they might need, because especially on the restaurants, it's an odd calculation, and we have a lot of folks that don't understand that. This makes it very easy to understand and move through the calculation. So we'll have landscape requirements, buffering between land uses, parking, and eventually signs as well. The last button is EDR. So EDRs are electronic document reviews. So this takes you back into one of the planning web pages and gets you into how to do a submission with our department. And EDR submittal guidelines, if you want that document, you can open it up, and this tells you how we do our electronic document review. Okay, now I want to show you another city. We don't have our real estate information in our system yet because we're still in the test mode, but we have all that ready to go. But I'm going to show you how that works in another city. This is Redmond, Washington. So you have the map of the city of Redmond, Washington here, and they only have for sale and for lease, but we'll have 3 buttons. We'll have for sale, for lease, and land bank. And then if you want to be at 80th Avenue and 169th, and you want to look at this property here, it says that's an office building, what the name of it is, Redmond Office Center Building 4. And if you click on more info, the Commercial Brokers Association information comes up for that. So you see the rents, the lease rates, listing status, who to contact. You know, there's all kinds of information on here that would be helpful to someone looking for a business. So if you imagine, you say, I want to build a bakery, and you go, okay, I can do that in these zoning districts, and it shows you on the map, and then you say, I want to lease space, and it gives you a map of all of the commercial properties that have space for lease. I mean, that's a 5-minute task. I don't know if any of you have ever tried to do that through the other process before with brokers, but this is, I mean, this gets you to the broker that you need to get to, or your broker can quickly find what they need to help you find a place to start your business. There are a couple of other cities in Kansas City metropolitan area using Encode, but we'll be the first ones to have this feature available to our folks to help spur development in Kansas City, Kansas. That's the end of the presentation that I have, but I'd be happy to answer as many questions as you have.
Yes.
So I missed that I didn't scan the whole thing of information that you're given on the property. Does it also tell the tax rate or anything? Taxes on the property?
Let's go back and look at a for sale, because I think that on the lease it would be incorporated in the lease. So
Right.
Let's look at for sale, for lease. Oh, zoom back out. So there's a for sale property. Fraser Court Suites. Looks pretty nice.
Shows a listing price.
All right, listing price, the cost per square foot.
That's just one of the questions I'd be
It gives you the tax ID number. So you could go
Find it.
on the county website and find that. But also, if they have a sales flyer for it, the PDF here is of a sales flyer. If you wanted to see.
Sometimes they tell them on there.
Right.
There's the tax.
Real estate taxes, $222 a month for that unit. So, a pretty powerful tool that I think will give people a lot of options that they don't have anywhere else in the metro area to find places to do business.
Commissioner Merkley.
I don't have a question. I just like to say that I'm really excited because I'm one of those people that kept clicking on the links on the website saying why can't any of the links work, and Rob kept saying it's because our website's messed up. So I'm glad that we're gonna have links that work and then get people the information that they need, people like me, because I'm on there a lot. So thanks.
Right, and we are working on the old agendas and minutes. We had a meeting with our technical services staff this week to figure out how, when we launch the new website, we'll have those all available at that time as well.
So is it going to be a choice on the homepage of the WYCO KCK, or how will we get there?
I haven't specifically talked to Edwin about how we would do that,
Okay.
but if we go to the I would see other key links and adding it under other key links, but I need to talk with Edwin about that as well, see where we would land with this. And what we would call it. Right. So there's multiple places. I think there'll be multiple places on the website where you'll be able to get to it, but I think having it on the front page for this, planning, economic development, and for Mr. Kendall at Wyandotte, it would be a good tool for them for everyone to be able to use.
That's great. Other comments or questions, other than it's super exciting? And when did you say?
I believe October 24th is the date we're shooting for.
That's great. All right, Mr. Bach, anything else?
Thank you, Rob. You did a very good job on this. It's one he's been working on for a while as he went through this process, so glad to bring it to the point where it's ready to roll out. Just one other thing. I have him in the audience tonight. I'd like to introduce our new Public Works Director, Jeff Fisher. Jeff, you want to stand up back there? Maybe we can get the camera in on you so everybody in the public can get a look at your face. But he started last week, so getting him in place and working.
That's great. Yes, Commissioner Philbrook.
So, Rob, I know that at least a couple of years ago, you and I started talking about all this stuff, and you were just on fire looking for things. So, congratulations that it's finally coming to happen.
Thank you.
Because I know you were just frustrated at first, but congratulations on pulling it together.
Thank you. I think it's been very worthwhile, and it'll be a great tool.
All right. If there is no other business at this special session, we are adjourned until our 7 p.m. full commission meeting. Thank you.